Hello everyone, welcome to IMPRINT IS. Today we in the Indian economy series, we're looking at the economic survey 2019-20, and today we're going to continue with chapter number 9, that is privatization and wealth creation, right? In this video, in this chapter, what we'll talk about is we'll talk about something known as Thatcherism, right? So what does Margaret Thatcher talk about, and how did she privatize the UK government, or try, so Reaganism and Thatcherism are two thought processes that of privatization, right? So liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So here we're looking at privatization. So what did Margaret Thatcher say? So she said free enterprise has enabled the creative and acquisitive urges of man to be given expression in a way which benefits all members of society. Let free enterprise fight back now, not for itself, but for all those who believe in freedom, right? So the idea being liberalism, that you should let, the government has no business being in business. So that is the basic focus. Okay. On the other hand, we have something which has happened recently, YES Bank, right, and SBI. So let's look at what has happened there. So YES Bank was put under moratorium. This happened in the first week of March. This happened in April 3. Deposit withdrawal was capped. It was removed, right? This happened. So this created a huge ruckus. But what happened? SBI was called in to come in and take over in some ways YES Bank, right? And they basically put up something like 10,000 crores, right? And it was expected that it would pick up 26 to 49% of YES Bank. That is right. So in some ways that this is publicization of private losses, right? So look at what happened. So look at the 52-week high of SBI. So this is 373 rupees. So from a high of, let's say, 300 plus, right, 320 before this thing was announced. Right now SBI is trading at 208. So how much did the government of India lose, right, if you think about it? So at least if you look at it, so let's look into it. So 208 rupees, right? And the market capitalization of SBI is 1.87 lakh crore in these terms. This was 2.5, right, a couple of weeks back, and this was even after the the here. Okay, so if you think about it, it costed something like a couple of lakh crores to the government itself here. On the other hand, look at YES Bank, right? It was literally worthless. The share, it is at 45 rupees. So if you think about it, this has been a huge loss. Okay, now let's head back to the chapter, that is privatization and wealth creation. So let's look at what the chapter says. The chapter has a very different view. Chapter says the recent approval of strategic disinvestment of BPCL led to an increase, right, in the value of shareholder equity of BPCL by 33,000 crores. Compared to its peer HPCL, this reflects an increase in the overall value from the anticipated gains from the consequent improvements of efficiency of BPCL, right? And what happened was there's a share comparison between BPCL and HPCL, and how this HPCL share was pretty much the same as BPCL share, but as soon as this privatization was announced, the HPCL share remained at the same place, but BPCL came up by something like 50 rupees. So this chapter, examines the realized efficiency gains. Okay, so why the share price improved of BPCL share, basically idea was efficiency gain होंगे, ठीक है ना? What will happen? We'll talk about that. कि net worth कैसे बढ़ेगा, profit कैसे आएगा, obviously all that. It analyzes the before and after performance, कि पहले क्या होता था, central public service enterprises में, और बाद में क्या होता है disinvestment के बाद, ठीक है ना? जिन में disinvestment हुआ है, right, 2000 से 2003, उनमें क्या improvements आई. To enable a careful comparison using a difference in difference methodology, ये क्या है ये हम देखेंगे. Obviously ये question आ सकता है, difference in difference, DID methodology, right? ये क्या है, इसके बारे में क्वेश्चन आ सकता है प्रीलिम्स में, राइट, ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप टेस्ट में. सो प्लीज कीप दिस इन माइंड. The analysis shows that the privatized firms on CPSEs on an average perform better post-privatization than their peers in terms of net worth. So net worth, net profit, return on assets, return on equity, gross revenue, profit margin, sales growth, gross profit. In some way, nearly in every term in every area, the CPSCs after privatization perform better. So what does the survey says? The basic premises: we want aggressive disinvestment. Right, that is what we're looking at of CPSCs. Right, and SBI can be one in some ways. Okay, so introduction. So in November of 2019, India launched its biggest privatization drive in more than a decade. An in-principle approval was accorded to reduce Government of India's paid-up share capital below 51% in select CPSEs. Among them, the BPCL was a standout. Right, 53.29% of BPCL was supposed to be disinvested. It still hasn't been. But what happened? As soon as this happened right around September, right? So this was announcement was made. So look at the amount increase. So from 380 approximately, that is the price, it went to 530 around. So that tells you, okay, so something like, so that tells you that the price of HPCL stock has remained the same, but BPCL is not the same. Okay. So the increase in the stock price of BPCL when compared to the change in price of HPCL in the same periods translates to an increase of value of shareholders or equity of BPCL around 33,000 crores. So that includes the Government of India as well. As a stock market reflects the current value of future cash flows of a firm, an increase in the value reflects anticipated gains for improvements in the efficiency when compared to HPCL, which will continue to be under government control. So maybe what they're saying, HPCL ko bhi aap disinvest kar dijiye. So strategic disinvestment was guided by the basic economic principle that government should continue its engagement with manufacturing, producing tools and services, and where competitive markets have come of age. So the idea is, LPG का idea क्या है कि आप यार government का has no business being in business basically, right? Has no business being in business. इसका क्या मतलब है? इसका मतलब है what has happened is कि state PSUs inherently are very good, right? They provide employment, etc. But definitely they become less efficient. Why? Because India में एक somehow mentality है कि अगर सरकारी नौकरी है तो काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा. Right, so that is the idea. That is the problem, right? So therefore maybe the government says that it's better to privatize everything, but then what the problem will become is that if the public player becomes less and less, so remember formal private sector jobs, good private sector jobs are far and few. And remember, we want to give employment, and that is again a challenge in the era of demographic dividend. So let's going back. What was Thatcherism, right? So though LPG की ना दो in 1980s and 70s में दो waves आई थी. So one of them is Thatcherism, right? And this happened under the British privatization program in 1980 under the stewardship of Prime Minister of UK, known as Margaret Thatcher. Right, so initial phase इसका 1979 से 81 था. The focus was on privatizing already profitable entities to raise revenues and thus reduce public sector borrowing, like in British Aerospace and Cable and Wireless. Then remember, at the same time, India was nationalizing its banks. In the next phase, 1982 to 86, focus shifted to privatizing core utilities, and the government sold off Jaguar, which now Tata owns, British Telecom, the remainder of Cable and Wireless and British Aerospace, British Oil and Gas. This was the most aggressive phase, right, in some ways, but even a more aggressive phase in 1987 to 91, in which British Steel, British Petroleum, Rolls-Royce, which is a legendary brand, British Airways, right, which is one of the best airways, I would say, water and electricity was sold. The dominant method, तो how did privatization happen? तो तीन ways हैं. अब मैं कंपनी को कैसे बेचूं? अब सपोज मेरे पास एक बहुत बड़ी कंपनी ONGC, लेट्स से, मैं उसको कैसे बेच सकता हूँ? तो दूसरा एक है आप IPO करवा दीजिए, राइट? उसके शेयर्स बेच दीजिए स्टॉक मार्केट में. तो 52% ऑफ ब्रिटिश एयरस्पेस का राइट, आईपीओ हुआ था इन 1981. ओके, इन सम टाइम इन फेजेस आप शेयर बेचोगे, राइट, सो दैट स्टॉक प्राइस में आपको प्राइस ठीक मिले, राइट, बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली आई कैनॉट, प्राइवेट प्लेयर के पास इतना पैसा नहीं हो सकता कि अचानक खरीद ले इतनी बड़ी कंपनी, राइट. जैसे एलआईसी को खरीदना बहुत डिफिकल्ट होगा व्हेनेवर एलआईसी इज डिसइन्वेस्टेड यूजिंग एन आईपीओ, सो दैट इज द प्लान कि एलआईसी को हम आईपीओ के थ्रू करेंगे. Then second privatization method is direct sale or trade sale. It involves, so direct sale and sale trade BPCL के लिए हम कर सकते हैं. Vedanta is interested, which involves the sale of a company to an existing private company. Negotiation हो सकती है, competitive bidding हो सकती है, right? BPCL obviously Reliance will be interested, right? Vedanta, other players, right? Then third privatization method is employee or management buyout. British National Freight Corporation है, वो directly company employees ने खरीद लिया था, right? ब्रिटिश बस सर्विसेज से, लंदन बस सर्विसेज से, वो कंपनी मैनेजर्स ने खरीद लिए थे, बोलते हम ही रन कर लेते हैं, आप जैसे हरियाणा ट्रांसपोर्ट है, राइट, आई एम श्योर द हरियाणा ट्रांसपोर्ट एसोसिएशन वुड लव टू बाय इट, राइट, इट्स अ वेरी प्रॉफिटेबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो एविडेंस क्या है, क्या फायदे हैं, बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं, लोग बोलते हैं प्राइवेटाइजेशन कर लो, लेकिन क्या फायदे हैं. सो एवरेज प्राइवेटाइजेशन से क्या होता है, सिग्निफिकेंटली पॉजिटिव है, 5 से 12% की आपको प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी ग्रोथ टाइप मिल जाएगी, राइट, ओवरऑल ग्रोथ मिल जाएगा. देन सिग्निफिकेंट पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट्स है फॉर बेटर क्वालिटी फर्म्स इन मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक इंस्टीट्यूशनल, राइट. डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट हैज अ वेरी पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट ऑन लेबर प्रोडक्टिविटी एंड ओवरऑल एफिशिएंसी. एग्जांपल्स है वियतनाम के एंड चाइना के, वहां पे काफी इंप्रूवमेंट हुई थी एफिशिएंसी की, राइट, सिग्निफिकेंट इंप्रूवमेंट हुई थी. कैसे हुई होती है, कॉस्ट रिडक्शन की जाती है, right, whenever a non-state entity is the new owner, right. So this has happened, even in private companies this has happened, right. I would not say cost reduction has been a very significant. So KKR is known as a private equity player. It has bought a lot of companies and tried to obviously reduce their costs and run them better. So stringent employee protection laws obviously are a deterrent to privatization on the other hand, जो इंडिया में है. So effect on EPL on privatization is disproportionately greater in industries and higher relocation rates and in less productive industries. So despite the fact privatization के फायदे हैं, अगर employment protection law बहुत strong है, तो privatization को खास फायदा होने नहीं वाला. Because privatization के actually benefit actually reduction in manpower से होते हैं, right? Then evolution of disinvestment policy in India. So now privatization तो हम करने के सोच रहे हैं, but let's head back. How did disinvestment happen in India? So liberalization, obviously reforms were undertaken in 1991. This ushered a demand for privatization and disinvestment of PSUs. In the initial phases were done through the minority stake in bundles through auction. This was followed by separate sale for each company in the following years. This method was adopted till 1999-2000 when the BJP government and the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government came. So India adopted a strategic sale as a policy measure in 1999 to 2000 with the sale of substantial portion of the government shareholding in identified CPSEs to 50% or more along with management control. तो यहाँ पे हमने management control देना start कर दिया, पहले हम नहीं देते थे. तो then 74% of government equity in modern food industries was done. This उसके बाद 12 PSUs, 4 subsidiaries, 17 hotels of the Indian Tourism Development Corporation was sold to private investors along with management control. So this happened from 99 onwards, right? Then एक काफी interesting चीज होती है, 33% shareholding of Indo-Bright IBP was strategically sold to IOCL, but still it is a PSU. So you're basically changing. You're just making IOC के पास बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा था, आपने क्या किया, उससे पैसा ले लिया basically by giving them IBP. At the end of the day, you still are controlling IOC. Right, so this was another major shift 2004-5 में हुआ था, where the government said, we can dilute our equity and raise resources to meet the social needs of the people, right? And this was a distinct departure from the strategic sales कि हम थोड़ा equity dilute करेंगे, right? Strategic sales के दोबारा renewal हुआ 2014 के बाद because obviously they lost the BJP. So if you think about BJP means privatization in India, right? So people who are looking for government sector jobs, right? If you vote for them, don't assume that you'll ever get a government sector job. So strategic sales have got a renewed push after 2014. During 2016 to 18-19, on average, strategic sales accounted for around 28.2% of the total proceeds from disinvestment. फिर दीपम ने कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव गाइडलाइंस लेकी हैं ऑन कैपिटल रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग इन May 2016, वेरियस एस्पेक्ट्स such as पेमेंट ऑफ डिविडेंड, बायबैक ऑफ शेयर्स, इशू ऑफ बोनस शेयर्स, स्प्लिटिंग ऑफ शेयर्स, इस सब पे, ठीक है ना. तो राइट, तो अब बेसिकली अभी क्या होता था, जब अब मेरा कोई PSU है, मुझे डिविडेंड देता था, because I'm a shareholder. So let's say I owe 51% of the shares. So obviously उसके ऊपर let's say मैंने 1,000 रुपए का शेयर है, let's say for the time being, right, ONGC का. So ONGC says कि मैं हर शेयर पे 10 रुपए दूंगा. So that's a dividend which I've got. ठीक है ना. On the other hand, what I can do is ONGC से मैं buy back कर लेता हूँ शेयर. मेरे पास let's say I have 10,000 crores of cash lying around ONGC के पास. So 51% गवर्नमेंट के पास है, तो let's say 5% गवर्नमेंट बेच देती है तो ONGC, तो मार्केट रेट पे बेच देती है, तो बाय बैक शेयर. ठीक है ना. फिर बोनस शेयर इश्यूज हो सकते हैं कि मैं आपको पीएसयू ओएनजीसी बोले मैं आपको और शेयर दे दूं, दैट इज अगेन लाइक गिविंग मोर मनी. देन स्प्लिटिंग ऑफ शेयर होता है, अगेन दैट इज आल्सो सिमिलर. सो नीति आयोग, अब ऑब्वियसली 2014 onwards we have planning commission नीति आयोग है. सो नीति आयोग का मैंडेट है कि आइडेंटिफाई करो कि पीएसयू कौन हमें डिसइन्वेस्ट करने हैं. सो इसके लिए अब आपने क्लासिफाई कर दिए पीएसयूज इनटू हाई प्रायोरिटी एंड लो प्रायोरिटी, right? So based on this, national security and sovereign functions of at arm's length and market imperfections and public purpose के बेसिस पे आपने डिफाइन कर दिया. तो 3 आपने क्राइटेरिया बना दिए. इसका अगेन ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चन बन सकता है, राइट, कि नीति आयोग ने कैसे डिफाइन किया है, right? So national security, sovereign functions of at arm's length and market imperfections and public purpose, right? So low priority को strategic investment के लिए हम देखते हैं. So 2019 में नवंबर 20th को अनाउंसमेंट हुई कि बीपीसीएल, शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया, कंटेनर कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया कॉनकोर, एंड फिर स्ट्रेटजिक डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट आल्सो इम्प्रूव फॉर द मिनरल्स एंड मेटल ट्रेडिंग कॉर्पोरेशन लिमिटेड एमएमटीसी, राइट, एंड नेशनल मिनरल डेवलपमेंट कॉर्पोरेशन NMDC, MECON, and BHEL. So obviously a lot of companies are going to get strategic disinvestment. Now this might change because of the coronavirus and the recession that is going to happen in the all over the world. Because right now, if you actually sell this, you're not going to get enough money. So there's no point in selling. Okay, so disinvestment, as I said, कैसे होती है, right? Disinvestment through minority stake in CPSEs to achieve minimum public shareholding norm of 25%, right? While pursuing disinvestment of CPSEs, the government will retain majority shareholder, so at least 51% and management control of PSU. So this was the first play. Then listing कर दो आप, IPO बना दो, right? So that is also great. अभी आजकल 57 PSUs are listed in the BSE and market capitalization 13 lakh crore की है. फिर strategic disinvestment कर सकते हैं, buyback, we already talked about it, mergers and acquisitions, right, आप कर सकते हो, right, like LIC buying IDBI Bank, launch of exchange traded funds, right, IOCL and NTPC, monetization of selected assets, जैसे आप land बेच दो BSNL का. So now that is how privatization can be done. Now question comes, privatization का फायदा भी है. So what is the economic survey saying? He's saying in the post-privatization period, firms show significantly higher profitability, higher efficiency, generally higher investment. So reinvestment rate काफी है, तो reinvestment rate high होगा तो growth होगा, ठीक है ना. Remember reinvestment rate का direct रिटर्न है, जैसे ग्रोथ ऑफ फर्म. सो कोई भी कंपनी ग्रोथ कैसे होगी? सो ग्रोथ तभी हो सकती है जब हाई इन्वेस्टमेंट लेवल हो. Okay, then to assess the strategic disinvestment privatization on the select CPEs before and after privatization, 111 CPEs are studied and that had undergone strategic disinvestment from 1999 to 2000 and from 2003, right? So 1999 to 2003, for which data is available before and after privatization. Okay, so which are the firms which have been privatized? So industry group, right, privatized CP Hindustan Zinc has done really well. फिर Balco, CMC, Maruti Suzuki, IPCL, Tata Communications, Lagan, right, and then they have been compared to others, right? Hindustan Zinc has been compared to Vedanta and Tin Plate Corporation of India and Hindustan Copper. Tata Communication will be compared to Tata Teleservices and so on, right? So that is a very good idea. So what has been done is that something known as difference in differences methodology. ये एक statistical technique है used to estimate the effect of a specific intervention or treatment, right? The technique compares the changes of outcomes between a population that is affected by the specific intervention and a population that is not. So basically जैसे demonetization होता है, तो demonetization का actually कोई फायदा हुआ था कि नहीं हुआ था, वो basically control group and not control group treatment group को देख. So इंडिया में demonetization होना और दूसरे जिस जहाँ पे नहीं हुआ वहाँ पे क्या impact हुआ, assuming they have similar control group. Right, so DID is typically used to mitigate the possibilities of any external factors affecting the estimated impact of a intervention, and this is accomplished by differencing the estimated impact of treatment on the outcome in the treatment group as compared to the control group. So the average performance of these CPSEs, using various financial indicators such as compared to the peers for 10 years before and after the year of privatization, हमने देखा. तो net worth में क्या हुआ? So net worth में privatized firm का 700 crore before privatization to nearly 3,000 crore after privatization, right? So net worth होता क्या है? Is what it owes its equity shareholders, right? It consists of equity capital put up by shareholders, profit generated and retained and reserved by the company. So net worth increase हुआ है, right? Significant wealth creation हुआ है, improvement in financial health हुआ. फिर net profit, so कितना increase हुआ? Around 100 crore से 555 crore, right? So again, did well. This is an example, right? This is the diagram that you can look into it, right? So if you look at privatized firm, right, pre and post privatization, look at the jump, right? So if you say that यार liberalization हो गई थी, बाकी भी बढ़े हैं. So look at this also increased, right? So this tells you return on assets also, peer firm का भी तो उतना नहीं हुआ है, right? So ये तो कम भी हुआ है pre-privatization, right, in peer firms में. So with time kind of tells you that यार growth तो सबकी हुई है, but अगर privatize हो गया तो थोड़ा better हुआ है. So gross revenue में देखो, privatization 1560 से 653 crore of privatization. Return on assets, right? Return on assets होता क्या है? ये obviously is capture the ratio of profits after taxes to the total average assets of the company. ये percentage terms में हम इसको देखते हैं. On an average, return on assets of a privatized firm have turned around from -1% to 2.27%. Right, surpassing the peer groups, which indicates privatized firms have been able to use resources more productively. Return on equity also again much better, 9.6 से up 18.3 पहुंच गया, which is really good, right? Then net profit margin of a company is PAT as percent of total income. So on average, net profit margin of a privatized firm increased from -3.26% before privatization to 0.65% after. So net profit margin भी improve हुआ है आपका. So actually देखा जाए तो सभी कुछ improve हो रहा है आपका. That is wonderful, right? Again, this has been given. So return on equity improving, right? A number of employees are reducing, right, of everyone. So again, look at sales growth, look at net profit margin, everything is getting better. Sales growth, as we talked about, 14.7% before privatization, 22% after that. Gross profit per employee, the number of employees have declined for both number of firms, but the reduction is lesser in magnitude as compared to its peers. Right, so gross profit per employee has been estimated only 8, right? Only 8 out of the selected 11 CPAs as per the availability of relevant data. So again, this is something that हमारा पूरा data है नहीं, but फिर भी gross profit per employee भी improve हुआ है हमारा, right? Then the survey basically examine करता है the change in performance of each CPSE taken individually also, but each PSEs अगर हम देखें तो improvement ही आई है, except for Hindustan Teleprinters, MFL and Tata Communications, few indicators. मतलब कुछ indicators हैं जिसमें obviously improvement ऐसा नहीं है. Look at this, just look at how Balco did pre and post, right? DID में around 1,000 crore का फायदा हुआ है. Right. सबसे ज़्यादा फायदा if you think of Hindustan Zinc. So Hindustan Zinc has been the most improved firm. I think that can be a special case study itself कि क्या हुआ यहाँ पे. Way forward, so the analysis in the chapter clearly affirms that disinvestment improves firm performance and overall productivity, unlocks their potential to create wealth. Multiplier effect हो सकता है. Aggressive disinvestment की जाए through a strategic sale, तो higher profitability, promote efficiency and competitiveness, and obviously promote professionalism management in CPSEs. Focus of disinvestment to exit from non-strategic business is the key, right? कि हमें हट जाना चाहिए right? Aim of any privatization or disinvestment program should therefore be maximization of government equity stake. So therefore I'm saying कि आजकल जरूरत नहीं है. So गवर्नमेंट को क्या करना चाहिए, टेमासेक होल्डिंग कितना करना चाहिए. तो टेमासेक ने क्या किया, गवर्नमेंट ने क्या किया, एक एंटिटी बनाई सिंगापुर की और उन्हें अपने सारी कंपनीज उनको दे दी. उन्होंने अपने हिसाब से उसको रन किया, बेचा, राइट. जैसे मुझे लगा कि ये कंपनी इतनी सही नहीं चली, उसको बेच दिया थोड़ा सा मैंने और कंपनीज में इन्वेस्ट कर दिया, इवन फॉरेन कंपनीज इन्वेस्ट किया. एंड टेमासेक बेसिकली इज वेरी वेरी प्रॉफिटेबल. So ये right, this entity should be managed by independent board and should divest stake in the CPSE in the period of time. Professionalism के लिए काफी सही रहेगा, right? Just to what is Temasek? Obviously we talk about it. Temasek was incorporated by the government of Singapore on 25 June 1974. Commercial private entity थी to hold and manage investment in government linked companies. So Temasek is only owned by the Ministry of Finance, right? Singapore Companies Act के अंडर ये कंट्रोल होती है, right? So Temasek में 13 मेंबर्स है, प्राइवेटाइजेशन बिजनेस लीडर्स हैं काफी, right? So इन्होंने बेसिकली क्या किया कि अपना एक पोर्टफोलियो बना लिया, राइट. दिस $230 बिलियन का पोर्टफोलियो 2004 में 66 बिलियन का था. सो कंपाउंडेड एनुअल रिटर्न रहा है, 15% का रिटर्न दे रहा है ये गवर्नमेंट को. सो रियली रियली वेल. Okay, just to revise, this year we saw BPCL to be sold, right, 53%, right? This increased the value of BPCL shares, the equity of BPCL shareholders, right? That tells you that, somehow the public sector, is not actually being efficient, right? So what we did, that we analyzed 11 CPSEs. We looked at their gross revenue, return on equity, pre and post privatization, and we realized that if we privatize better है. So aggressive disinvestment करनी चाहिए, तभी higher profitability आएगी. The government should focus on healthcare, education, right, and providing essential services, right. The government should not be in business, and with that I think that has been the whole crux of this chapter. On the other hand, we had YES Bank, जिसको privatize, private bank को literally public बनाया गया. Initially it would have thought कि YES Bank को nationalize किया जाए, that would have been the most easiest thing to do, but government doesn't have the capacity to do that anymore. So they made YES Bank and other banks invest. So SBI invest in YES Bank. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, do ask. We are doing it pretty quickly. Do read the chapter, and I think with that we should be able to talk about this in much more detail. If you have any questions, do ask. Do subscribe to our Telegram group. Do like our channel. Thank you so much.